Meet the 2023 Hyundai Palisade. Think of it as a luxurious three-row SUV with a non-luxury price tag. You get the space, the comfort, the amenities, but you also get to keep $20,000, $30,000, maybe $50,000 in your pocket. What could be better than that?
Well, how about a three-row crossover with some of the rugged looks that you might get on, say, a Toyota 4Runner, but the comfort and the convenience features that you absolutely will not find on a Toyota 4Runner. That is the Kia Telluride.
Okay, sure. Telluride is popular, and I know they're largely the same vehicle underneath, but I would argue that you get a much more upscale experience with the Palisade.
Well, maybe if you're watching this video, you already know that these two crossovers are siblings. Call them fraternal twins. The real question is, which one is the better buy? Let's find out.
But first, please subscribe to the CarGurus YouTube channel. We're happy you're here.
And if you have a car to sell, maybe to make room in the garage for a Palisade or a Telluride, well, you can sell it 100% online with CarGurus. We'll source an offer from a network of thousands of dealers, and if you like that offer, let us coordinate picking up the car and getting you paid. All right, so let's take a walk around the Palisade.
All right. So the face was completely redesigned for 2023. It's bolder and more assertive, and we have a lot of silver color in this grille. We have the top trim today, Calligraphy, which means we have the top of the line 20-inch wheels. They definitely seem like they're going for a slicker and blingier look than the old Palisade wheels, which had a more chunky, funky kind of design. This color is called Robust Emerald. It's a deep, inky green that probably looks more black on camera because it really only shows the green in the metallic flake, so under light. And then, much like the old Palisade, we have this chrome line going across that appears to really relegate the rear windows to the back end of the vehicle. It almost makes it seem, from the outside, like that rear row is akin to the servants' quarters in an old house.
Yeah, so the Palisade's grille is definitely making a big statement. And compared to that, the Telluride's front end is actually a bit more reserved. The tiger nose design is familiar, and it still has some cool lighting elements, although I'll admit, those headlights on the Palisade do look great, and I love that green paint job. But, I mean, come on, look at this shade of blue. It's new for 2023. Kia calls it Midnight Lake Blue. I think it looks awesome. It
does. It looks great. That's a great color. And I don't mind the Telluride's design. It's just that front end that to me makes it look a little bit more plasticky or almost toy-like, kind of along the lines of a Jeep Renegade or a Honda Element.
I don't think I would compare it to either of those cars. It looks more general purpose to me, like a truck or a really capable SUV. I mean, meanwhile, the Palisade, this thing looks like it would fit in with a group of Cadillacs. There's more silver, more bright work on your car, and the wheels, they just grab way more attention than the dark 18-inch ones on the Telluride. I've got those wheels because this is an SX Prestige X Pro model, whereas you are driving a top-of-the-line Hyundai Palisade Calligraphy.
True, so that's right. Kia sells the X Pro on the top two trims, whereas for Hyundai, we do have XRT, but it's a separate trim, and it's a little further down the ladder from the Super Luxe stuff.
Yeah, so X Pro and X Line, they both joined the Telluride as new additions for 2023. Now, both of them get a 1-inch lift and these raised roof rails, but the X Pro also adds a tow mode, the 18-inch wheels, and Continental tires. It all adds a little bit of function to what I think is some seriously good-looking form.
True, okay, and for Hyundai, XRT is really more of an appearance package. We have the same wheels and tires, no lift. It does add crossbars on the roof, and perhaps most importantly, it blacks out this grille, which takes care of what the biggest objection I've heard to the redesign. But enough of that, let's get driving.
Let's do it.
First things first, getting into first. I have to confess, I don't love this push button shifter. And I understand that your Telluride has an actual lever, is that right?
It does, and I agree. I also prefer the traditional lever style, although I will admit, not having that lever and using the push buttons, it frees up a ton of space.
That's true, and it's space that's well used. I mean, look at this massive center console, and check out the cup holders.
Yeah, right? So,
how fun is that?
I mean, it's pretty fun. great demo on the cup holders. I have to say though, I look at these and I just think about how they're gonna look in 2 or 3 or 4 years. So a friend of mine, very good friend of mine, left a set of crayons, his toddler's crayons, in the cup holder on a hot day, and they just melted in there. So I look at the fancy cup holders in here, and all I see is melted crayon.
Yikes.
Yeah, well, you're right though. I mean, in general, this is a more spacious, a more useful center console than you'll get in the Telluride. I gotta work through the crayon thing on my own.
Fair enough. Let's talk about the engine. So the 2023 Hyundai Palisade has a sole engine option. It's a naturally aspirated 3.8 liter V6 that makes 291 horsepower and 262 pound-feet of torque.
That is the same in the Telluride.
Same as the Telluride and same as the 2022 Palisade. It's still paired with an 8-speed automatic transmission, which I feel functions smoothly, and you can choose to use the flappy paddles on the steering wheel if you prefer. Behind the wheel, you can really see why this is such a popular vehicle. I really appreciate the smooth, linear power delivery, and I don't feel like I'm driving something that's large enough to seat 8 people. Navigating some of our more eccentric Boston area merges, those multi-exit merges, in this Palisade at rush hour, I was actually a little bit surprised when the car insisted on turning on the cameras. It doesn't feel like that large of a vehicle, so it didn't really seem like I was as close to other people as you do have to be in that kind of situation.
Yeah, and in the Telluride, would you look at that? Pretty much identical in the Telluride.
Is it identical? I mean, I know this is different wheels and tires.
Yeah, so I didn't really notice it over the last few days driving the Telluride around, but having just gotten out of the Palisade, there is a little more road noise coming from this trim's all-terrain tires. But in general, I mean, if you like how the Palisade drives, you're gonna like how the Telluride drives. Natalie, you're 100% correct. This thing, although it is a big 3-row family-sized crossover, it feels manageable. It feels downright, dare I say, it's small. I mean, obviously it's a great highway cruiser, but I didn't have any trouble maneuvering this around in Cambridge traffic either. The steering is really well weighted, and it doesn't have much of the off-center play that's common in big vehicles. I did notice when I was driving in stop-and-go traffic and I had auto hold on and the auto stop start on, that it took a little extra nudge to get the Telluride moving. Okay. But honestly, that's pretty much the only tell giving away this vehicle's size. And it has some size to it. I mean, it's pretty capable. So the Palisade maxes out at 5,000 pounds of towing.
True.
This in X-Pro, guys, maxes out a little higher, 5,500 pounds.
Ooh, and considering that extra capability and ruggedness, it is still nice and comfortable. And can we talk about this leather?
Yeah, I mean, all right, so the Palisade has that black leather interior. Some people prefer that. Some people like lighter colors. I think that this brown looks just incredible. So good.
I do too, honestly, and it certainly was very popular when we showed the 2 cars to our colleagues at CarGurus.
Yes, everybody was into this. I mean, you can get brown leather in a lot of cars now, but I feel like there's a difference between like an okay brown and a really good brown. So let us know what you guys think about the interiors of these cars, the exterior of these cars, in the comments section below. I mean, you've seen them both. Would you rather have the classy Palisade or the more rugged Telluride?
And after having seen the interiors, do you think those 2 adjectives should be swapped? The Palisade was already very well equipped, as was the Telluride, and they've both only gotten better with this refresh for 2023. We now have Wi-Fi hotspot capability standard and a standard 12.3-inch infotainment display, including Apple CarPlay, Android Auto, HD Radio, SiriusXM, and Nav. It's all housed in this large curved panel like the Ioniq 5s, but the driver information display is set back in the more traditional position, whereas the Telluride has the 2 screens in a single housing. Hyundai BlueLink and Kia Connect are both standard on the Palisade and Telluride respectively, and having those connected services means that you can do things from your phone like check the fuel level, check the window and door status, or even turn on your heated or cooled seats remotely. They both also have a digital key, which means you can use your Samsung or your Apple phone as a key, and you can share it with friends and manage the permissions completely. So, for example, if I'm in a meeting and Matt wants to take this for a test drive, I can text him a copy of the key and I can later revoke the permissions to preclude any pranks.
What do you mean pranks?
And there's standard in-car intercom, so you don't have to strain your voice talking to the people back there. Matt, tell us about the safety features.
Sure, we can talk about safety, but first I want to talk about how much space is in the third row of this vehicle. I mean, the Palisade and the same with the Telluride, they don't feel like regular three-row crossovers because the third row in a three-row crossover is supposed to feel like a penalty box. But I have room here in front of my legs. Granted, this seat is pushed forward a little bit, but not terribly so. I can recline the seat, and in this trim, I actually have heated seats for the third row and a little USB-C power outlet here, and then there's another one over there. But going back to safety, because that was the question, happy to say that the Palisade and the Telluride are chock full of advanced driver assistance systems. You have automatic emergency braking, lane keeping assist, lane tracing assist, blind spot monitoring with rear cross traffic alert, adaptive cruise control with full stop and go functionality, and intelligent speed limit assist. And now new for 2023 is the availability of Highway Driving Assist 2. The standard HDA system helps steer and brake and accelerate the Palisade and the Telluride when driving on the highway, but HDA 2 adds in a lane change function. Now for 2023, the IIHS has not yet tested the Palisade or the Telluride, neither has the NHTSA. But in 2022, the Palisade and Telluride both got a top safety pick award from the IIHS. They fell short in the side impact crash test. So for 2023, Kia and Hyundai have added side impact airbags to both of these models.
The three-row crossover segment is a very competitive one, and these are both top options.
And it's been that way since they debuted.
It almost makes you wonder if Kia and Hyundai really needed to refresh these two vehicles. I mean, I think we're both glad that they did.
Yeah.
They've only gotten better, but you often see refreshes and redesigns as a way to address flagging sales. I'm not sure that that was a problem with these two. They both start in the mid $30,000 range and go up to the mid 50s.
Yeah, so your Hyundai Palisade calligraphy trim, this one right here is priced at $52,310, and my Kia Telluride SX Prestige X Pro, $55,120. Now, they're both super capable cars. They both seat 7 or 8 people depending on the configuration, although you do get a little more cargo space in the Kia. This has 21 cubic feet behind the third row as opposed to only 18 in the Hyundai. What's really interesting though is that these cars, they offer slightly different value props, but do appeal to pretty different types of shoppers.
I've always felt like your vehicle is a big part of your identity. So if you're choosing between these two, think carefully about how you want to feel when you're behind the wheel.
Yeah, you've got the Palisade, which is kind of like a budget Mercedes, and you have the Telluride, which doesn't have the capability of a 4Runner, but does have a lot of the same visual appeal.
We do want to know which one you would choose, so let us know in the comments. And thank you for watching. Please remember to subscribe to this YouTube channel, head over to CarGurus.com to read our full written reviews for more information, and check back soon. We'll be driving something else next week.